Bullish.
How bullish?
Mega bullish.
There has to be a better way to do this, not just for us, but for everyone.
I really didn't believe that the two of us would sit down and do another interview.
I'm very pleased with how things are progressing now.
Stop what you're doing and watch this right now. No other channel can bring you so much alpha in one show from one place in Singapore, where all the top minds in crypto are right now. From Tether to 𝗕𝗟𝗡𝗙𝗃 to all things DATs, perps, DEXs, and much more. This is Crypto Banter in real life in Singapore. From me on set to our main man Fefe getting the real pulse of what's going on in the markets. Stay put, tune in, and let's go. This special coverage of Token2049 in Singapore is brought to you by Blofin, the best non-KYC exchange to trade derivatives.
We're in Singapore for Token2049. As you can see, the lines are 2 hours long just to get in and get the alpha. But we're not going to wait in any lines. We're going to go straight upstairs and we're going to go straight to the alpha. Wow, just look at what's going on here. Look at this. Hundreds and thousands of people waiting outside. The line is about 2 kilometers long around the building. All right, so this event is 5 floors high. Exhibitor booths everywhere, hundreds of exhibitors, thousands and thousands of attendees. I'm going to take you straight down to our booth, and that's where we'll be getting all the alpha.
To get to the alpha, we have to answer one big overarching question. Is this the end of the cycle, or are we on track for a cycle that just keeps going? For clues, we can look to the most recent narratives, all in full display here at the world's biggest conference, Token2049. One that only Crypto Banter, like no other channel, can bring you front row access to hear from the biggest names, the headliners, and the big heavyweights in the space. Just look around and spot the clues. We have so much adoption and development going on, with the Web 2 world finally converging here in our crypto native space. It's all about institutionalization plus DATs. And while thousands of people were lined up outside still waiting to come in, I got on stage and gave an alpha-full talk about DATs and how they may just end the cycle. No, wait, hold on. Maybe it's just about how they will make the cycle.
Now, we all have to put on suits and ties because now we have to become asset managers. And becoming asset managers isn't going to be enough. We actually need to become asset managers on steroids, because otherwise the market is always going to price us under our assets. And this is the best thing that happened to the market. I always ask the $1 million question, or for some of you, the $1 billion question. If you have $1 million worth of Solana, or ETH, or TON, or BNB, are you better off holding it and managing it yourself, or selling it and buying the same amount of DAT shares at net asset value?
Evidence right here with Tom Lee. Our man Fefe here on the floor caught up with the main DAT man as he toured the conference.
But what do you think about Q4?
I think crypto is going to do well in Q4, but I think equities will do well as well.
Are you concerned about 2026 and the bear market that we have seen previous cycles?
Well, a lot of people are talking about a crypto winter, so let's say that's the base case. It kind of means it's less likely.
How do you prepare if and when it happens?
I think you just don't want to have margin if it's a crypto winter.
I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Bro, we literally just interviewed Tom Lee on the Escalator of these are the people that you could meet. Like, it's actually said, it's not because we're Crypto Banter, it's just because we were in the right place at the right time here in the conference. And when I say that you can meet with these people, you can. It takes you just to come here. Look at the view. Look at the view.
Fefe for the win. It's all about institutionalization, perps trading, and privacy. And we'll be sitting down with all the relevant players to bring you the precise insight, from SharpLink to Bitwise to GalaxY and all the other headliners.
So I think absolutely you're seeing more and more instruments from actually everyone on this panel. It's the beginning, but we've definitely entered a new chapter.
This conference literally covered it all. From Tether taking the stage and talking about their $500 billion valuation.
You change the way money moves.
With us getting an exclusive interview with Paolo in his hotel room.
Paolo, it's so good to be here. It feels like we've been working for like many years to get to the point now where like
Tether's at the center of everything, stablecoins at the center of everything.
Definitely 2025 seems to be the year of stablecoins. After 11 years that Tether created the stablecoin technology, now in the most important country in the world finally issued a law which we contributed to as Tether and the Genius Act, and I'm very proud and very excited.
How do you see the future? Like, what gives Tether the advantage? Does Tether remain the number one? How do you see the future?
Every competitor that I'm seeing is making the same mistake. They're all focusing on their reach.
With all these competitors, like, do you still think that USDT will be the number one stablecoin? I ask that, like, I know in crypto you're the number one stablecoin, but in the world there are other companies that have much bigger distribution.
I mean, these guys, sure, JP Morgan, for example, they have great distribution, but the reason why Tether exists is because all these banks failed in servicing customers. Mainstream media mocked Tether for a long time because we were servicing a niche. 3 billion people, half of the population of the world, that is the one that is underbanked and unbanked, they call it a niche. So that is the arrogance of who comes, or not everyone, but many that come from the traditional financial world.
Back at the conference, Tether was making more headlines, with former White House policy advisor Bo Hines taking the reins at USAT.
I'm very pleased with how things are progressing now. I think that we addressed most of the questions that were unanswered in this space, and we gave more confidence in the innovators and the builders and the founders that had left the United States to be able to come back because they knew how they would be treated.
Also pleased with crypto is 𝗕𝗏𝗽𝗪𝗏's Don Jr., packing the house big time.
America leads by example, and so we have to have that leadership in this industry. You know, while some of the guys have been in it for a long time, I mean, I think we're just at the beginning of what's going to be an incredible upswing that's going to change the future.
With that same vision are the big institutional names. Alibaba, the Chinese behemoth, to Amazon's AWS, to Google playing in the Web3 sandbox, and the list goes on and on. CME Group, Stripe, and even the gold standard in art, Sotheby's.
I mean, just look around you. The first thing you see, CME. It just shows you that the institutions are here this cycle.
The real alpha, though, lies with the real crypto builders, from perps to DeFi, like Athena to Hyperliquid and Aave.
What's going to be really big is to take yield actually to everyday people.
Part of the problem is that there's not that many places to make money in crypto like at scale.
Token2049 calls itself the red carpet of Web3. And look around, the views.
Wow, look at the view here. You've got the Marina Bay Sands over here, and you've got all the beautiful stuff down there.
The show of it, the DJs, the dancers, the mirrored guy.
The DJs, always a vibe here at Token2049. We'll probably pick up later, that's for sure.
The people, 25,000 strong, and the activations. This is a whole experience, not just mindshare. The climbing wall, the golf, the cold plunges, pull-ups, shakes, coconuts, the cryo chamber, a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, a zip line, and even a pickleball that Fefe absolutely dominated it.
Alright, let's go.
Dominating the conference floor, the exchanges, bigger than ever. From BingX with 𝗙𝗟𝗊𝗙𝗃 to OKX sponsoring F1's Lando Norris, this is worldwide. Robinhood taking the stage.
And at the end of the day, it's just the beginning still, I think.
And then you had an array of exchanges. HTX, BitGet, CoinW, ChangeNow, CoinUp, BitUnix, WeX. You had KuCoin playing golf, dollar driving at Demeny, and Mexi's 2-story high diamond handing. Not to be outdone, Blowfin, where the real whales are made.
Look who we see here. We see Davey from the Navy.
The most impressive news stand that I've seen on the floor today.
Blowfin, wow.
At a giant whale stand with these giant whales and this giant whale dolphin. Just wait until you see the closing party with Blonish. Okay, cut to the party. Oh, we had to. What a banger. Also a banger, Justin Sun getting roasted by Silicon Valley's TJ Miller. The room overflowing again, and this time getting laughs. Crazy.
All right, let's talk about the banana. Joseph bought a banana for $6.2 million, and then he ate it. Yes! Give him that one, you guys. Give him a round of applause on that one.
From the crazy to the recognizable, there were a whole lot of interesting names here. Tangem, the wallet builder, at their vending machine. Gold Dollar, sports and chilies. Spacecoin. What is Spacecoin?
What the hell is Spacecoin?
Alchemy Pay, personal miners like 𝗕𝗟𝗄𝗙, Reserve at their salon, Meta-Earth, and way more. Just look at this, booth after booth after booth. This place had it all. The food halls, the co-working spaces, the cafe by base with 𝗕𝗟𝗢𝗙𝗙 hanging out. That's the thing, this industry is special like that. The heavy hitters can be right next to you. We bump into 𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗙𝗏, who we later interview to Banter fans near and far.
Look who you see out here. I mean, you never know who you're going to bump into. We just saw Arthur, a lot of people walking around here.
And then, someone who was at one point not a big Banter fan, Charles Hoskinson. But we finally sat down with him and we tried to bury the hatchet.
Well, I didn't believe it either. My PR people didn't know about our beef. So they scheduled it and I saw you on the list. I said, all right, we got to bury the hatchet.
Okay, so, I mean, let's talk about the beef. Let's get it out into the open. You're unhappy with me about...
You shit all over Cardano for a long time, you know? And
I did.
Yeah, you did, and it is what it is. But you know what, we're in a new era. Everybody's friends now, you know? Biden's out, we got Trump in, we got Clarity Act being passed, Midnight's dropping to 33 million addresses. We got dropped to Solana, Ethereum, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Cardano. So it's water over the dam, you know? You can't hate people forever. It's like the past in the past. Every 2-3 years we get a reset in the market.
These are healthy debates. And my ongoing debate, is there no blow-off top to cycle? No new retail? Is it just going to be consistent growth that will stabilize over time and finally end the 4-year halving cycle? Let's get into it with a top-tier hit list of interviews right here at our Crypto Banter set, like no other channel can do in the space.
You got all the big projects, all the big headliners right here on the floor at Token2049. And this right here is where we're going to be sitting down and bringing you all the live coverage and all the alpha.
First up, to ask whether the 4-year cycle is over or not, the legend himself, 𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗙𝗏.
Obviously, the next guest doesn't need an introduction. You all know him, he's a friend of the channel, he's been here many, many times. But I want to get a quick pulse check from him. Quick pulse check. Bullish, bearish?
Bullish.
How bullish?
Mega bullish.
Mega bullish. Tell me why.
Money printing. Same reason, and it's going to get more insane in the next, 3 years.
You're not worried about the fact that there's so much inflation out there? I mean, inflation is still a thing, and they cut
That's the
rates.
point.
Tell me why.
Well, of course there's been inflation, and then what do we have to do? We have to own financial assets, unfortunately, so that our incomes can keep pace with inflation. What's been the best capital protecting tool over the last 15 years? Bitcoin. What's going to continue to be the best protecting tool? Bitcoin. So, yeah, I agree. I'm worried about inflation. I have to protect myself. I have to own more crypto.
You've been a big hyperliquid man.
Correct.
Now we've got 𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗏 on the market. How do you see, I mean, you're a perps guy, you know perps better than anybody else. How do you see this competition between hyperliquid and 𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗏?
I see it as, I call it the Chinification of perps, right? So hyperliquid has I think there's a commodification, whatever you want to call it. Hyperliquid is a very profitable business model, perps. Very simple. It's been around for a while. They've done very, very well. And now a competitor has, oh, okay, you're charging, I don't know, 4 bips, whatever they charge, right? I'll charge 0. I'll also issue another token, and we'll play some tokenomics, Ponzi-nomics game with my token. All the traders feel happy because they get this new thing they get to trade. And let's see what happens to your revenue. Why do you want to own Hype if Hype makes no money and they can't buy back their token at whatever the valuation they want to own?
So you think that we're going to get a whole lot of zero trading fee DEXs coming out now?
I think that trading perps is going to be almost free for just about everyone, going from now until the future.
Okay, so if we're selling our perps positions, we have a whole lot of spare cash now. What do we do with the cash?
Athena. I think Athena is going to be the best stablecoin narrative, and I believe stablecoins from a macro perspective are going to grow from a 300 billion-ish circulating supply into the single digit, maybe $10 trillion of supply. There's Tether, which will continue to be dominant number 1, but I think Athena and the team there can supplant Circle and be the number 2 largest stablecoin. And because Athena will soon start buying back their token, they already have $500 million of cash on their portfolios, their protocol's balance sheet, ready to buy back tokens.
Short Hype, short 𝗙𝗘𝗙𝗏, long Athena. What else am I buying?
What else are we buying? EtherFi. They're doing an earnings call in a few hours talking about their growth in the numbers of people spending money, how they're doing in getting people to stake their assets borrow against them, and then spend those stable coins or staked ETH in an offline manner.
Let's talk about one last thing, which is the 4-year cycle. So in 2 weeks' time, it's the end of the 4-year cycle. Right. I don't know if you know that, but really in 2 weeks' time, that would mark the end of the 4-year cycle. It doesn't feel like the cycle's about to end in 2 weeks. At least to me, it doesn't feel like it's about to end in 2 weeks. What do you think? Is it like a longer cycle? Is it the end of the cycle now? How do you see
I think that we need to talk about liquidity, money printing. If you believe that all of a sudden the forward curve on the growth of money supply is all of a sudden going to flip lower, flat, negative in 2 weeks, cool, that's the end of the 4-year cycle. If you don't believe that, then okay, the cycle will last as long as the cycle lasts. If you think about the last 3 major 4-year cycles, 2013, we have the taper tantrum, the United States at the Fed, right? 2017 was the repo crisis of the Fed. These are all tightening moments in Fed liquidity. 2021/2022, inflation is transitory until it's not, then the fastest hiking cycle ever since the 1980s for the Fed. Every 4 years. Okay, well, what's happening today? We had the Fed Governor Moran talking about the third mandate, how they need to print money to keep the moderate interest rates. You have Trump trying to take over the Fed by firing all governors who don't agree with him to print more money and take control of the monetary supply. You have Secretary Bessent talking about how he needs to engage the banking system to print more money to build more bombs so they can bomb people. I don't see anyone talking about not printing any more money. I just got off of stage talking about how I think France is going to exit the euro and the ECB is going to print trillions of dollars to stop that from happening. You have the Bank of Japan still not hiking rates fast enough, still printing money. China exiting deflation. What are they doing? Talking about housing market buildbacks. So tell me where the liquidity is not coming from.
You spoke about France exiting Frexit, you called it. Why?
Basically, if you take a look at the target imbalances, France has deteriorated the most in sort of the EU architecture, and the French state requires German and Japanese money to finance it as foreign bond holders, foreign equity holders. Now that America is saying you no longer can export all these goods to us and earn this mercantilist income, we want to do the same. Germany and Japan must invest domestically themselves. They are going to pull money from France and all around the world. And no longer will the French government be able to finance itself from the Germans and the Japanese. And that's what's going to predicate a crisis in France, imposition of capital controls, and the ECB will have to print now or have to print later.
Awesome. Always good to speak to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you very
To
much.
print now or to print later? That is the question for the Fed. I was on stage myself earlier and I was asking whether DATs would wreck this cycle or whether they'd make the cycle. And for the serious answers, we connected with SharpLink CEO and former BlackRocker.
All right, we promised you major headliners, and here we are bringing you major headliners. All the way from BlackRock to now being the co-CEO of SBET, right? So you left BlackRock and you jumped to a treasury company.
Yeah.
Why?
So for the record, I officially retired from BlackRock, and my intent was to take 6 months to a year off. And I had met Joe Lubin, who's the co-founder of Ethereum. He's the CEO and founder of Consensus, the largest Ethereum company. And we had these conversations about what the mission was. And at BlackRock, my mission was to bring institutional level access of crypto to traditional investors who had no other means of accessing. They couldn't buy spot, they couldn't self-custody. And Joe is on a mission, and he's been on a mission for 10 years, to essentially make Ethereum the settlement layer of economic activity. Decentralized, trusted, programmable. And when you get two mission-oriented people who come from different backgrounds, you can often meet in the middle.
How do you see the activities of a treasury company?
Sure. I think it's twofold. One is the very basics. You make investors understand that there's a long-term fundamental view in the Ethereum ecosystem, that over time, stable coins, tokenized funds, and DeFi will explode and expand, largely on Ethereum and the L1.
Let's assume they believe in the underlying asset.
Great. Then your job is to give them better exposure than they can get. And in the past, they got exposure through venture capital. They couldn't own the spot. And the challenge with these great ETFs, and my team was responsible for launching them, is ETH is a productive asset, unlike Bitcoin. You can get the long-term you can get the long-term capital appreciation, but it's productive. It has yield. To date, the ETFs have not gotten approval, and they will soon, to do staking. But even when they can stake, they're not going to be able to fully stake. Why? they need to provide daily liquidity. That's very hard to do when the staking queue is at 38 days. So it's a superior way of owning and getting that.
Is taking debt part of your playbook?
To date, we've been entirely common stock to investors. There's two interesting things about ETH that are different than Bitcoin. The first is actually the volatility. And maybe it's the fault of BlackRock and the ETFs hoovering up so much Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's vol has come down. ETH has a 40 vol. That's really interesting if you're issuing convertible bonds, and that volatility is super attractive to people who want to invest in converts. The second thing is, if you can get a low coupon, unsecured bond, you're not putting your ETH at risk.
It must be unsecured.
Unsecured, you can get convertible unsecured. You can then often get a very low coupon and pay your debt service with ETH staking revenue. So you have the volatility, which is great for those investors. You can cover your revenue and you have credit. Why? Because if you're a staking company, you'll end up having hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue in addition to the fact that you have the volatility that the convert investors are looking for. It's a superior instrument to build equity linked on.
That's a superior instruments, he says. Something to really weigh. Remember this panel, an institutional crypto mix.
And joining us will be Richard from Binance, Hunter from Bitwise, Tim from CME Group, and Keith from Circle.
With his finger on the institutional pulse, Bitwise is kind of competing with the DATs. But who's actually going to win?
When we walked in here, we saw that the institutions are taking over this place. You must be having the time of your life. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade.
It's an incredible, 2025 has been an incredible year. The third quarter of this year, I think for people on crypto Twitter, maybe the mood has felt mixed. Amongst our traditional financial services clients, the most inflows we've ever had in the third quarter of this year. So it's a great time with traditional investors.
How much have you guys got under management right now?
15 or 16 billion, depends a little bit on the day.
And how much was that number a year ago, 12 months ago, same conference?
Gosh, maybe 3, maybe 4.
Wow. So that's your rate of growth at the moment?
Yes, it's grown substantially in the past 12, 18 months.
Let's talk about treasury companies, because in a way the DATs are competition, right? Because, I mean, for investors, either I invest in an ETF or I invest in a DAT. How do you see it? I mean...
Yeah, DATs are the topic of the day. And I think this is, by the way, you said in 2024 you couldn't have predicted 2025. Yeah. In 2024, I couldn't have predicted that DATs would be one of the most prominent topics of this year. I would have said maybe the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve or the Trump...
Are you bullish DATs or not bullish DATs?
I'm bullish DATs.
Tell me why.
There's 3 things. So the first thing is for investors, it's helping build more access points. So I'll give you an example. We're working with a sovereign wealth fund that wants to buy Bitcoin, but it's going to take them 6 or 12 months to get all the consensus building done. They own equities, so they bought MicroStrategy so that they can have exposure to Bitcoin while they're working on the ability to buy Bitcoin. The first thing that I like about digital asset treasury companies is they're providing the equity format, which is different than the ETF. The ETF allows you to buy exposure to a digital commodity, and there's some people who need it in the equity format, so I like that. The second thing is, we'll have to see, but I think in many ecosystems, take Bitmine or 𝗙𝗘𝗓 or SharpLink or the Ether machine, they can become power users of the Ethereum ecosystem, or Forward or Helios or Soulmate and Solana. You know, a lot of these ecosystems need people with meaningful amounts of assets to try out and adopt the new applications. And I think the treasury companies can become power users for each ecosystem, and I think that'd be a great thing.
How far down do you think there's going to be demand for ETFs? Like, do you think there'll be a demand for a Doge ETF and a 𝗬𝗎 ETF and a Hyperliquid ETF? Like, how far down?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, in the US, so Bitwise is ETPs in Europe, but in the US, and a lot of ETPs in Europe, in the US we have filings for Solana, XRP, Avalanche, Doge, Chainlink, Near, Aptos, and Hyperliquid.
Oh, wow, you've gone down. I mean,
we have all of the filings for all of those.
And you think there's enough demand from TradFi, or there will be enough demand to actually keep the ETFs liquid and vibrant? And
yes, I think over time, yes, but I don't think that there's going to be a need for 7 ETFs for each asset.
How are you feeling about the whole 4-year cycle?
So in some ways, the question of will the 4-year cycles continue and will we have a bear market next year is another version of asking the question, what are the things that you think might be the surprise blow-ups that are significant enough that they could flip the space into a bear market? I think the space has matured a lot, so I think there's a lot less than there would have been before, and I think that's the reason that some people now wonder if...
I think we're more diversified.
Yes.
And I think because of all the regulatory scrutiny, we've become a much stronger industry.
Yes.
And all the big issues that we used to have, I think a lot of them have been mitigated because of the fear.
Yes.
I mean, Tether failure, Tether's not going to fail,
Right.
the sexes aren't going to fail, so
Right.
I think we're pretty safe. I'm just worried about a COVID or a black swan,
Sure.
but I don't think that's happening in the next 2 weeks. So
I think it's always good for investors to be wondering about the risk.
my friend, it's always good to see you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to chat. Pleasure to chat.
Quickly get him. He's the guy that's got the DAC, the 500.
In summary, long-feared regulation may have actually been a good thing, which in turn begs the lingering question, is this institutionalization in fact a good thing?
Get this, head of firm-wide research at 𝗙𝗘𝗙. I'm going to say it again. Head of firm-wide research at 𝗙𝗘𝗙. And 𝗙𝗘𝗙 is making a lot of waves. Alex, you guys are really doing good stuff at 𝗙𝗙𝗙.
I appreciate it.
Give us a little bit of the insight of what's happening at 𝗙𝗙𝗙.
Well, we uplisted to the NASDAQ in May after being publicly traded, albeit in Canada for the entire company's existence. GLXY, that was a big milestone for us. And we basically have deprecated a giant Bitcoin mining business, and it's now transitioning solely into AI compute. So we are a dual crypto and AI company now at 𝗙𝗙𝗙. One of the biggest in crypto for institutional business in general, and we think will be one of the biggest data center hosts for major hyperscalers in AI.
If you were betting just on the changes in regulation, where would you place some chips? Like, what protocols would benefit the most?
I think one of them, this is so interesting. I was actually very surprised that Ether performed so badly for the first half of the year, because I thought it was very obvious that changes in DeFi, rule changes in DeFi and token issuance were the most likely to happen. That we were seeing that's going to happen. It is happening. And so platform like Ether, Ethereum, and Solana, where those activities primarily take place, would be the best position to gain on a net basis. It hasn't really happened yet for that reason, but I still think places where real world assets will be tokenized, apps that will be able to host them, if there are DEXs, for example, that are able to have tokenized securities trade without themselves needing to register as exchanges. I think that's where you're seeing a huge explosion, and this is what the SEC is saying, just I think as recently as this morning, Eastern time, that they want very quickly for on-chain securities to trade in DeFi.
So you said that, but at the same time, you're going up on stage and you're going to challenge the way that people are tokenizing securities. Why?
We just have a very strong view that a tokenized security should have all the economic and legal rights that the public existing security does. Now look, if it's a private security that you're tokenizing, like what Robinhood has been talking about, there is no public equity security to compare it to. But if it's 𝗙𝗙𝗙, which we have tokenized on the Solana blockchain ourselves, you are buying, if you can buy and hold that token on Solana, you are buying Class A common stock in 𝗙𝗙𝗙 Digital. It is not a wrapper of it, right? So we don't like wrappers, right? To me, a wrapped equity structure, it's literally just a fund that owns one asset. It's fine. It's like buying an ETF of the asset.
Base have said that they changed their thesis and they now said, look, they're going to be potentially launching a token. To launch a token, they would need to decentralize.
They could use that maybe to create a decentralized validator set. That's what we're calling for. It's not hate against the specific roll-ups. I think Kraken, we're also on stage with, they announced 2 weeks ago they're going to change from an optimistic roll-up to a based roll-up, which is a decentralized sequencer network, and we praise them for that. So we just think it's not that we don't really care. If they want to be centralized and be a stock market, that's great. Just register. We'll happily let our stocks trade there, right? If they don't want, but the whole reason you don't have to decentralize, the argument why crypto blockchains, generally speaking, shouldn't be regulated. We have a policy agreement, all of us in this industry, that they shouldn't be because we like decentralization. But the reason they really can't be regulated is because they're decentralized. It's not saying that if you could regulate Bitcoin, surely the government would try. In fact, they've talked about it in the past, but they can't. It's simply impractical. So we're saying if you want to be sure that you can avoid registration and oversight and regulation by the government as a platform, you got to be decentralized.
Alex, I'm going to catch up with you when you have your talk.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man.
All right, so we're 2/3 through our coverage of Token 2049, and we're still working our way through the exploration of the cycle stages. Next up, we're going to stir up some controversy. I'm warning you. because we're meeting with Charles Hoskinson, and you know that him and I have had a long battle around Cardano's development. Stay tuned after the short break. This episode of Crypto Banter Token 2049 is brought to you by Blowfield, the place where whales are made without KYC. Welcome back. Crypto Banter is the only depth boots on the ground crypto media operation that can bring you real-time, extensive IRL coverage of this industry to tell you exactly where the market stands right now. We've been exploring the cycle in depth, but now it's time to address the elephant in the room and talk to Charles Hoskinson about Cardano. Everyone knows Charles and I have had some beef. We ran into each other and figured it was finally time to squash the beef and bury the hatchet.
Guys, look around us. We have a big crowd around us, and that's because Charles is here. Now, Charles, I gotta say, like when they reached out to me and said, you're meeting Charles at 2 o'clock, I was like, Charles Hoskinson? I didn't believe it. Like, I really didn't believe it. The two of us would sit down and do another interview.
Well, I didn't believe it either. My PR people didn't know about our beef. So
well,
they scheduled it, and I saw you on the list. I said, all right, we got to bury the hatchet.
Okay, so, I mean, let's talk about the beef. Let's get it out into the open. You're unhappy with me about...
You shit all over Cardano for a long time, you know? And
I did.
Yeah, you did, and it is what it is. But you know what? We're in a new era. Everybody's friends now, you know? Biden's out, we got Trump in, we got Clarity Act being passed, Midnight's dropping to 33 million addresses. We got dropped to Solana, Ethereum, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Cardano. So it's water over the dam, you know? You can't hate people forever. It's like the past in the past. Every 2-3 years we get a reset in the market.
So let's say this. I want to just be clear and honest. Like I have nothing against you. In fact, I think you're one of the smartest people I've ever met, and I've always said that. I think you're intellectual in many fields, not only in blockchain, but in many, many fields, and I have huge respect for you. I think the one place where I did maybe have some beef is I saw Cardano valued at a lot of money, and I just couldn't understand why it was valued at so much money. It's such high valuations. And that was where my disconnect
Well,
came.
I couldn't understand why Luna was valued at so much money. So, you know, sometimes we win some, sometimes we lose some. The challenge for Cardano was that while we did a great job of building a decentralized ecosystem that has on-chain governance, we misstepped on the DeFi side. And everybody looks, oh, the DeFi numbers don't look so good, therefore Cardano's overvalued. It's like, well, the DeFi numbers look terrible in Bitcoin, and it's a $2 trillion ecosystem. So the market doesn't just price based on TVL or stablecoin adoption of these things, it prices based on philosophy, and it prices based upon community. And Cardano has an extremely strong community. You know, it's 1.3 million staked wallets, and millions of people have had it. Everywhere you go, you meet somebody who's had ADA or be part of ADA. And the on-chain governance is the largest and most decentralized DAO in the space. So from those metrics, the value makes sense. Where we've been having trouble, and it's improving, but it's still lagging Solana or 𝗎 or these other guys, is in the DeFi side of the space. You know, the stablecoin adoption is terrible. TVL is under 1 billion. There needs to be a lot of improvements there.
So you did fall behind, and I mean, right now, what's the strategy to catch up?
Well, what's nice is that we were able to repair most of the broken windows with Midnight. You know, and there we've seen over 100 partnerships, and we've gotten things like Brave integration and blockchain.com and bitcoin.com integration. Just a lot of people that had written off Cardano, they didn't care about it. And that alone brought 100 million users into that can now hold data and be part of the ecosystem. So integrations was one component of it, and having a strong foundation, in this case the Midnight Foundation, they kind of serve a dual role of catching up with Cardano, but then also pushing Midnight and bringing new users into the blockchain. Second, Bitcoin DeFi, I think, is the biggest play. You know, people undervalue how massive Bitcoin DeFi is. It's a $2 trillion blockchain, so we actually have a huge native advantage for Bitcoin DeFi because we're UTXO, Bitcoin's UTXO. You actually can write Cardano smart contracts and they compile and run on Bitcoin. So there's interoperability between those two sides. So while we didn't really sit in for the cycle for the EVM world and those guys, I think that's one way we can get back in. And it's the same for XRP DeFi. You know, as much shit as the XRP community gets, it's almost $100 billion of XRP floating around that's yield free, and there's no DeFi ecosystem for it. So what you do is you try to match RWAs, and you try to match all these emerging assets that now, because of changing regulation, can finally enter the space, and they produce lots of great yield, and you pair them up with Bitcoin, you pair them up with ADA, you pair them up with XRP, these types of things, and that alone will get us probably in the 10, 15 billion for TVL, and a lot more transaction volume. The other thing is we have to be more aggressive about scaling, and you'll see Hydra Doom over there. We were able to get 1 million TPS with it, but we got to productize those things. We have to get those things into the network, and they're basically where they need to be.
Now, where's your mind space now?
Well, we still have well over 200 engineers on Cardano, and actually because the treasury of Cardano opened up with new governance, we have $1.5 billion that the community can spend, and they just approved the first budget. So we still spend about half of our time as a firm in the Cardano space and Cardano adjacent. So Cardano L2s, projects on Cardano, strategic investments around Cardano, and things we want to launch from it. Midnight obviously takes a big chunk of time, but I also spend a lot of time in healthcare and medicine and synthetic biology.
Charles, my friend, so good to see you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm glad we buried the hatchet. I don't like to have negative blood, and good to have you back.
Good to see you, Ran.
Hold on. Charles wasn't joking here. We took a walk over and he indeed showed me a whole interface on neurons that was replicating real brain activity. Moral of the story here, we buried the hatchet. And say what you will about Charles, but as I opened up with, he is one of the most brilliant minds in the space, hands down. There's also a war amongst the perp dexes.
We are currently in the midst of passing a proposal where 100% of Drift's revenue will flow back to the community.
Hyperliquid and Asta are in the lead, but what about Cindy Lau's Drift? It feels to me like this one could be undervalued. And if it is, it's undervalued by a multiple of 40. But who's wrong here? Either I'm wrong or the market's wrong. One of us has to be wrong.
All right, so here it's peace and quiet, but out there it's perps dex wars. So I had Arthur Hayes earlier, and what he said the perps dex game is a game where the fees go to zero, and there's going to be no value in the actual perp dexes, and the value is going to be in the other activities that the perps dexes can generate. Correct. How do you see that? I mean, does it worry you that your main line of business could become a zero fee game?
Eventually, yeah. But here's why Drift is going to win, right? Like, we are not just a perp dex. We are an entire borrow lend system built under us. Our entire spot trading, margin trading, vaults. We're the biggest vaults product on Solana right now. And we're the number 2 borrow lend by TVL on Solana. We're 1.6 billion. Biggest perp dex by TVL. We have a yield product coming up. We have a vaults product. Like, all of these things feed into the Drift ecosystem where we don't just make money on perps. So us turning fees to zero is not a problem. We understand that that's where the market is going. Robinhood has zero fees now, and we're ready for it. And this is why we've built our system the way that we have.
Okay, so now I'm looking at my charts here. Yeah. Your fully diluted valuation is $850 million. Your market cap's $312 million. Hyperliquid's $45 billion. What am I missing? Or what is the market missing? Because someone's wrong here. Either the Drift valuation is 45 times undervalued, or I'm missing something. What am I missing?
I think we're missing just the market catching up. We've built a fully performant on-chain system that rivals every single other competitor, and our volumes are catching up. Our open interest is at all-time highs. We're making over 100 mil annualized in revenue. So at the end of the day, the market's going to eventually catch up. There's no comment on my side on when this is going to be the case, but yeah.
I think it's going to happen with the upgrade in November. Anyway, guys, you've heard it now from Cindy. I've been telling you guys about Drift for a long time. I still maintain that it's the most undervalued DEX on the entire market. And in this case, the catch-up is that the market reprices Drift much closer to the competitors. Cindy, thank you.
Thank you, Ran.
So, are you going to get in on the catch-up trade? Let me know in the comments. This may stir the comments too. One additional contender in the perp dex space is the newly launched Privy on Cody. The only difference is that this one has built-in privacy.
Shakaf, you told me that you guys have got a Privacy DEX. In fact, you even call it PrivX.
Yeah.
How does it actually work?
Well, happy to be here, and yes, one of the killer apps that is now live on 𝗕𝗏𝗙𝗄's new privacy chain is called PrivX, and it uses our core technology, which is goblet circuits that allow encryption. So essentially, when you use PrivX, it's a full-on DEX, and when you bid, nobody sees the price. Nobody sees what you're buying. Nobody can front run you. Nobody can, as it's a perp DEX, nobody can take advantage of your leverage and liquidate you, yes. Right? So all of that is done fully on chain. We are the only one in the markets that can technically even do so, because 𝗕𝗏𝗙's privacy chain is far faster and far more scalable than anything out there.
This technology is more superior than like a ZK technology, right? Because the ZK computations are happening on a side chain or off chain, and then they're being settled onto a main chain, right?
It's not. It's just one problem. The other problem is that ZK is not multi-party. You can't build an AMM, for instance, with ZK. ZK is one party. You need multi-party computing, like 𝗕𝗏𝗙, but 𝗕𝗏𝗙 is just not there. And goblet circuits with 𝗕𝗏𝗙 is the only thing that's there, right?
When is this thing launching? When can we?
So PrivX is already live.
Okay.
On 𝗕𝗏𝗙. You can trade now. AI is launching, I think, this week.
Okay.
And the private mode, which is so cool, you just click on a button, the screen adds this green rectangle that tells you now you're safe. That is imminent, like 2 or 3 weeks.
So in 2 or 3 weeks, you'll have a fully on-chain privacy DEX with an AI agent that can trade for you, all happening on 𝗕𝗏𝗙.
And if you come in now, you're part of a competition. So you'll be eligible to an airdrop, right? And the token is very close.
So I was about to ask, is there a token?
There's no token yet. You can now trade and be part of the airdrop. And PrivX, the team there, is not selling to VCs, like none of that. This is like an amazing launch.
Okay, and then so the token launch we can expect when?
I think October.
But wait, hold on a second. If you've got privacy on chain, what about private payments?
Oh, amazing. Okay, you got that. So this is the other killer app. We allow anybody now to create a private token, okay, so, or a private stablecoin or whatnot, right? You can code it, or you can vibe mark it. Oh, sorry, you can vibe code it, right? You can do that on 𝗕𝗏𝗙 right now. You created this, and we are about to publish an integration with MetaMask that allows you to send, receive, and view private tokens. So if I need to pay you something, the entire world doesn't need to know about this. Privacy is coming front stage. This is why we see, I'm sitting here looking at the Cardano booth, and at midnight, this will be big. This will be a big airdrop. It will attract a lot of attention to privacy. 𝗪𝗏 is launching. They need privacy.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. There's a link for you guys in the description. Not much time to get the airdrop. 𝗙𝗏𝗙, good to see you again, my friend. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
So if you like privacy and you like airdrops, get in on the airdrop now before it's too late. Now we go over to Fefe with another launch. This time it's coming from ZK Sync, the developers development team scaling Ethereum.
Thanks, Ran. We're taking a break from the floor. We're coming here talking to incredible projects. Alex, ZK Sync, thank you so much.
My pleasure being here.
So you had some major announcements. Tell us what we need to know.
We just announced 2 big additions to the Elastic network of ZK Sync. The first is the Send chain by Sandbox, and the second is the ADI chain by the ADI Foundation. I'm incredibly excited about both.
Why did you decide to integrate these 2 chains, and why is it important for you to integrate as many chains as possible?
At ZK Sync, our mission is to scale Ethereum in every direction that Ethereum needs, and we're building the infrastructure that creators and builders need to not worry about the blockchain technology.
RWAs is definitely something that a lot of people will talk about Q4 and going into 2026. How do you see your trajectory going into Q4 and in 2026?
ZK Sync is already leading on the RWA adoption front. We're the second largest ecosystem after Ethereum with 2.3 billion TVL in RWAs. It's only going to increase because of the integration of enterprise and institutional chains into the system with the technology we call Prividium. A bet on ZK Sync is the bet on privacy. that no compliant organization, financial institution, bank can go on chain and fully replicate their processes without having privacy. And this is what we uniquely offer.
What do you think about the cycle top? How will Q4 go? Where do you see the market in 2026?
No one can really predict, but as far as I can judge from my experience, and I've been in crypto for 8 years, it's only going to grow until we onboard the entire world. All of things that touch value in some way, shape, or form will come on chain. This is inevitable at this point. We see it with the this was the trajectory without regulatory backing, and now with the new wins in the United States and the entire world, it's only going to accelerate from here. So I cannot predict about price, I can predict the growth of adoption.
Alex, appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Adoption is key, and we'll save the price talk for later, when Fefe talks to some real traders here at Token2049. Take it away, brother.
You can see all the major sponsors here. Everybody is here. This is the largest crypto conference representing all the sponsors. You can see here on the board. Let's go and try to find them. Interview.
What's up?
What do you think? What do you think Q4 is going to look like?
October. Up only, I hope. Let's take Bitcoin to 150K and let's see what happens from there.
Nice to see that, again, institutions like Alibaba Cloud or Forbes from Web2 representing, with, of course, with native crypto companies like Tron. Justin Sun is speaking here at the conference, always bringing massive, massive crowds. And then one of the best booths out there in the conference is the 24/7 terminal. This is our new terminal. There must be a link in the description. What's happening? 24/7 crypto. What do we see here?
This is like a news trading terminal, basically. We figured a new way to try and trade. We don't like the older ways of just going to an exchange and trading news. A lot of people get wrecked. We've basically made a one-click solution so that all of the steps that you usually do when you see news from a friend or a place, the terminal basically provides a news feed for one click, your presets, long or short, based on whatever news you want.
Again, top institutional names. You see Sotheby's here coming with digital art. Maybe NFTs are going to come back. What do you think about Q4?
Q4, look, it's historically the most bullish period for cryptocurrencies. We're following the previous cycles almost perfectly. It's just that the scale of our upside has not been the same.
What do you think about the conference?
It's always the greatest conference in the world.
What do you think about Q4 and the market itself?
I think sell before Christmas. By mid-December, I think it's going to be at the height right before Christmas, and I don't see it coming back after Christmas. And if it does, then one final swing in January. But to be safe, anyone watching, I think get out by mid-December.
And at the end of the hall, just before you go up, you see the maxi stage here. For example, right now, Animoca, the sandbox, immutable on stage, absolute alpha pack sessions.
18 months ago, you clicked on this.
All-time high?
All-time high for sure.
Okay, take care. Ciao, ciao.
And hands down, look around and you'll find some of the smartest minds anywhere. Better yet, a real Bitcoin OG, 𝗕𝗟𝗄𝗙𝗪, an original Bitcoin developer who's now spinning up a new Bitcoin L2 called 𝗕Me. So why is he doing it, you ask? Well, these institutions are accumulating Bitcoin. And when they do, they're going to want yield. And this Bitcoin L2 could capture some of the demand.
Remember I told you earlier this month to buy 𝗕Me, and those that did, you guys made a lot of cash. I think 𝗕Me's about to do the same thing again. Quickly, in 2 sentences, what is 𝗕Me? What does 𝗕Me do?
𝗕Me is a L2 blockchain that merges Bitcoin and Ethereum. We have Bitcoin and Ethereum tunnels, programmable Bitcoin, extends your Bitcoin into infinity.
So why do we need a blockchain like 𝗕Me? What's the point of it?
Yeah, great question. Right now you have all of this activity and interesting innovation that's separated between the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ecosystems. And so you need something that ties them together, brings them together in a way that basically adds to both ecosystems. It takes the best parts of Bitcoin, the best parts of Ethereum, and merge them into one super network that does everything that both networks can do.
How do you incorporate the Bitcoin functionality into the EVM chain?
Yeah, great question. So 2 big parts to this. The first is Bitcoin security through a protocol we call proof of proof, which is a way of decentralized security inheritance, so you get Bitcoin finality. And the second is something we call HVM, or the 𝗕Me virtual machine, which is an EVM with a Bitcoin full node inside of it that smart contracts can talk directly to.
How do I do it on 𝗕Me? Explain to me what the process flow, where do my Bitcoin go? Walk me through it.
Well, the easiest user flow is to go to 𝗕Me staking, drop your Bitcoin in. That's it. 2 steps.
And what kind of yields am I going to get on my Bitcoin?
Right now, you got 2 tranches of yield. You've got low and safe, and you've got high and risky. So the low and safe is basis points. It's maybe 1% if you're lucky. The higher yields are 8, 9, 10% on your Bitcoin, under what you can get for stable coins, but you're getting that through looped leverage and some of the other risk-added elements.
So listen guys, Wall Street has discovered Bitcoin. Soon they're going to discover that Bitcoin needs yield, because that's what Wall Street does. Wall Street lives on getting yield. And when they discover that Bitcoin can get yield, there's going to be a Bitcoin layer 2 narrative. And when it comes to layer 2s, there are not really many credible players in the space. So keep your eyes on 𝗕Me. I have been speaking to you guys about 𝗕Me before, but keep your eyes on 𝗕Me, because I think when that happens, that wave's going to happen really quickly.
Like I said, the Bitcoin L2 narrative hasn't started yet, and when it does, 𝗕Me could lead the charge. Leading the charge in the hardware wallet space is Tangent. From their vending machine to selection, the booth was buzzing, and we had to stop by.
So we've met all the headliners, we've spoken to the people on the floor, and now it's time for us to go and check out our stand. Right here, one of our sponsors, Tangent Wallets, and they got a vending machine. Let's go have a look. Daria, so good to see you. How are you?
Hi, so great to see you.
Show us the new wallets.
Well, we have quite many of them, several limited editions, our regular one, the cold one, and we also have recently introduced several new designs for the Banter, co-branding collaborations, and Tangerine.
Now, what's the unique thing about this wallet? There's something around, you don't need your seed phrase. You never need a seed phrase anymore, right?
That's a huge innovation, that
how does it
Tangent
work?
has introduced. Alternatively, Tangent proposes directly 3 cards in the package, where you have 3 alternative cards that store your private keys. All of the 3 cards, they provide you the access to the same wallet. And this way, you don't have to worry about how to store your seed phrase, how to protect it, and it eliminates any possibilities of human errors, mistakes when you share it somehow by mistake with someone.
So if I got this card, this is the wallet, right?
Exactly.
And now if I want to sign a transaction, all I do is I take my phone and I tap the card?
Exactly. You simply have to open Tangent app. The card itself, it's also protected with access code. This access code can be as complex as you wish. You set it up yourself when you activate the wallet.
And what does one of these things cost?
It's actually very affordable compared to other cold wallets. Tangent is $69.9 set of 3 cards. Yeah, but it's also possible to purchase a set of 2 cards, which is even more affordable, around $54.
So guys, that's like $50 for a cold wallet.
The most secure cold wallet you could ever choose. Yeah.
$50 for like one of the most secure cold wallets out there. Amazing. Dara, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
You're welcome.
Ciao,
Nice
ciao.
to see you too.
Thank you.
I think you'll agree that there's no channel in the industry that can bring you this kind of IRL experience at the world's biggest gatherings time and time again. This stop here in Singapore, we explored where we are in the cycle and posed you some serious questions to ponder over the state of the markets. As we wind down at our closing banter party overlooking the splendid Singapore skyline, replete with frontrunners and VIPs from all around the world, my take objectively, I don't feel the cycle ends anytime soon. But regardless, as I always say, trade well, my friends.
Welcome.